Have you ever wondered if there's a secret government running things behind the scenes? Welcome to the complex and contentious world of the deep state, a term that has become a political football, often used to stoke fears and deepen divides. But what if we strip away the politics and explore the deep state for what it truly is? A network of unelected officials operating behind the veil of national security. It's a concept that's been around since the 1960s, quietly influencing the course of governments and nations. It's a world of intrigue and secrecy, where power is often wielded away from the public eye. And while it may be tempting to dismiss it as mere conspiracy, the reality is far more nuanced. The deep state has profound implications on governance and democracy, raising questions about the balance of power in our modern world. As we peel back the layers, it's clear that this is more than just a conspiracy theory. The roots of the deep state trace back to the tumultuous 1960s. This era, defined by the Cuban Missile Crisis, saw the emergence of unelected officials quietly amassing power behind closed doors. These individuals were not elected representatives of the people, yet they held significant sway over national decisions and international affairs. The 1960s also bore witness to a significant transformation within the intelligence community. The Office of Strategic Services, or OSS, morphed into what we know today as the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. This shift represented more than a mere change in name or structure. It marked the birth of an intelligence apparatus with an expansive global reach, unparalleled in its scope and influence. These developments were the initial sparks, the kindling that would feed the flames of what we now refer to as the deep state. This was the beginning of an intelligence apparatus with an unprecedented global reach. During the Cold War, the CIA became a synonym for covert operations. The agency, once a fledgling successor to the Office of Strategic Services, had now grown into an entity with global reach and influence, operating under a shroud of secrecy that was seldom penetrated. The CIA's rise to power was marked by a series of covert actions that would forever change the world's geopolitical landscape. Let's take, for instance, Operation MK-Ultra, a program of mind control experiments on human subjects, designed and undertaken by the CIA. It was a chilling testament to the lengths the agency was willing to go in pursuit of its objectives. Then there was the Iran coup of 1953. The CIA orchestrated a coup against Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, to secure Western control of the nation's oil industry. This event set the stage for decades of tension in the Middle East and is a stark reminder of the agency's willingness to intervene in sovereign nations' affairs to serve its interests. Another operation that stands out is the CIA's intervention in Chile in the early 70s. The agency supported a military coup to overthrow democratically elected President Salvador Allende, leading to a brutal dictatorship under General Augusto Pinochet. This action further underscored the agency's willingness to disregard democratic principles in the name of perceived national security. These operations, among countless others, highlight a period where the intelligence community operated with minimal oversight, often bypassing elected officials and the public eye. It was a time when the CIA, in many ways, became a law unto itself, conducting operations that had profound and often devastating effects on nations and peoples around the world. In this era of smoke and mirrors, the CIA was not just gathering information. It was actively influencing the course of world events, often in ways that directly contradicted the democratic values it was ostensibly there to protect. In the shadows, they were shaping international affairs. And while the world was none the wiser, the deep state was growing ever deeper. Figures like James Angleton and J. Edgar Hoover epitomized this era of intelligence dominance. These men, often operating from the shadows, held a grip on the political landscape that was as profound as it was unseen. Their influence was far-reaching and, in many ways, unchecked. They had the power to shape the course of governments, to make or break careers, and to shift the tide of public opinion. But perhaps even more alarming was their use of blackmail. They collected secrets, not just on foreign spies and potential threats, but on their own countrymen. Politicians, journalists, activists, no one was immune. And these secrets, these private and often damning details, were used as weapons. Weapons to secure loyalty, to silence opposition, and to further their own agendas. Their actions, shrouded in secrecy and often bordering on the unethical, raise critical questions about the compatibility of such power with democratic principles. In the 1970s, the Church Committee hearings unveiled the intelligence community's excesses. This was a watershed moment in American history, a true exposé that left the public in a state of shock and disbelief. The hearings revealed a wide array of covert activities, some of which were deeply unsettling. These ranged from illegal surveillance of American citizens to assassination plots against foreign leaders. The public's reaction was immediate and strong. A clamor for change echoed through the halls of power, leading to significant reforms. The intelligence community was no longer a shadowy entity operating with impunity. The Church Committee's findings led to the creation of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, both designed to provide oversight and accountability. The Church Committee's exposé was a pivotal turning point. It was a moment when the intelligence community was forced to step into the light, to be accountable, to be transparent. This was a moment of reckoning for the intelligence community. Post 9/11, the intelligence community's scope expanded dramatically. The aftermath of the horrific events of September 11th ushered in a new era of security measures and surveillance tactics, all in the name of national security. The fear and uncertainty that followed these tragic attacks created an environment ripe for the justification of extensive surveillance and erosion of personal privacy. But what does this mean in tangible terms? Well, imagine your most intimate conversations, your private thoughts shared in confidence, or even your internet search history, all being monitored and collected without your knowledge or consent. This is no dystopian fantasy. It was, and continues to be, a stark reality for many around the world. Now you may be asking, who would expose such a massive invasion of privacy? Enter Edward Snowden. A former contractor for the National Security Agency, or NSA, Snowden was the man behind one of the most significant leaks in American history. In 2013, he revealed the vast extent of the NSA's surveillance programs, causing shockwaves globally. Snowden's revelations were not without consequence. He was charged with violating the Espionage Act, forcing him to seek asylum outside the United States. His actions ignited a fierce debate over the balance between national security and personal privacy. He became a controversial figure, hailed by some as a hero and a whistleblower, and by others as a traitor. But regardless of where you stand on Snowden, one thing is clear. His actions brought the issue of privacy versus security into the global spotlight. They sparked conversations about the power of government agencies, the reach of their surveillance, and the erosion of individual privacy in the digital age. In the end, these revelations forced us to ask ourselves tough questions. How much of our privacy are we willing to sacrifice for the illusion of security? And more importantly, who gets to make that decision for us? This sparked a global debate on privacy, security, and the reach of government power. And this debate continues to rage on, shaping the post-9/11 security landscape as we know it. The deep state concept forces us to confront our core democratic values. It's a paradox that, as our institutions evolve, we grapple with striking a balance between national security and individual freedoms. The deep state, with its roots in the intelligence community, presents an ongoing challenge to democratic principles. Consider this. Agencies like the CIA, originally created to safeguard democratic governance, have grown in both power and secrecy. Over time, these agencies have pushed the boundaries of their reach, often justifying their actions under the cloak of national security. But at what cost? The unchecked expanses of the deep state have raised critical questions about the erosion of privacy, the potential for misuse of power, and the impact on civil liberties. If not held accountable, these institutions risk undermining the very principles they were designed to protect. The institutions designed to protect democracy might, in their unchecked expanses, undermine the very foundations of democratic governance. In contemporary times, the deep state remains a potent and controversial topic. It's like a specter hovering over the realm of modern governance, sparking impassioned debates and stirring up a whirlwind of questions. The intelligence community, once operating in the shadows, has increasingly come under the spotlight. Its role in policymaking, previously clandestine and unchallenged, is now a subject of intense scrutiny. As the lines between national security and personal freedom blur, citizens are left questioning the impact on their civil liberties. How much surveillance is too much? How far can the government go in the name of security before it infringes upon our personal freedoms? Transparency is another critical issue. The public's trust in governmental institutions hinges on openness and accountability. But how much transparency is feasible without compromising national security? As we grapple with these questions, the deep state continues to be a mirror reflecting our concerns about the influence of secret powers in democratic systems.